Good morning, good looking people, and you're good looking because you're always looking, and of course you are finding the good in everything and in everybody. Hope you're great, hope you're doing well. It is an exciting time. We just finished the Yom Tovim, and we're going back into the real world. And today is all about joy and happiness. Today we're talking about music and instruments and even a little bit of acrobatics. So we'll go through the Hayom Yom today. It talks about the Mittler Rebbe. And the Mittler Rebbe had a choir. They were known as the Mittler Rebbe's Kapella. And they were a choir. Some of them would sing, some of them used instruments, and we'll talk about those details. We'll also finish up with this nice story of the Mittler Rebbe's son and tying it to some acrobatics and joy. Also to note, today is also the yortzeit of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. He was a student of the Maggid. He was a colleague of the Alter Rebbe, and also he's connected with the Mittler Rebbe because the Mittler Rebbe's child, married the grandchild of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. So we're bringing him as well into the mix of today of music, instruments, and of course we'll talk about the end, which is a little bit about acrobatics. So let's read that Hayom Yom inside. It says there are 10 melodies. This is for the 25th of Tishrei. There are 10 melodies. Some of them were merely melodic phrases whose composition is ascribed to the Alter Rebbe. Those ascribed to the Mittler Rebbe were composed in his time and were sung in his presence. And we're going to come back to those words, in his presence. He was not their composer. However, he had a group of musical men, young men, who were known as the Mittler Rebbe's Kapella, or his choir, which comprised of singers and various instrumentalists. So today we're talking about that the Mittler Rebbe, that there were 10 songs or melodies that were attributed to him. And not necessarily did he compose them, but they were his. And what's being brought up today, first of all, the Zohar talks about singing. And it talks about the methods of singing, that there are 10 different methods of singing. So when it talks about the 10 songs, there's a connection there. In fact, the book of Psalms, or the Tehillim, is known as the book of songs related to singing. Now, the reason why it's brought up today about the Mittler Rebbe and this Kapella and the choir and the singing and the instruments, first of all, singing versus instruments are two different levels. Singing comes from your mouth and from your breath, and it's a form of unlimited or infinite, that you can keep singing. It's a way that it comes out of your mouth. However, using an instrument is finite. It's the opposite of infinite. And this idea of the Mittler Rebbe, whenever he would sing, it falls into a Kabbalistic concept of what we call Ratza and Shav, this back and forth. We talked about it, about the Birchas Kohanim, how there's a reason why we have that tune, and then back and forth between the Chazan and the Kohanim and the priests that are giving the blessings to the community. It's all this back and forth of Ratza and Shav, this will and return as well. Now, the Mittler Rebbe, when he would be giving Torah, would go into deep meditation, he would go to such a high level that there was a concern that sometimes he would leave his body. By having the instruments and by having the singing all around him, this is what helped him stay in his body and to stay present. And that's why when it says in the Hayom Yom that they sung this in his presence, the idea was that they had to do this so as he was meditating or where he was learning, that this would keep the Mittler Rebbe here on earth. Now, why this is important as well, and tying it to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev was also known as a musically oriented person. He was very into singing, very into songs, and he had this connection. And being that today is all about music and instruments, and today is also Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev's yortzeit, and Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's grandchild married the Mittler Rebbe's child, all these different connections they all brought up today. Now, to finish off with the story about acrobatics. So, the Mittler Rebbe had a son, and he also had another group, not just musicians and instrumentalists, but also a group of acrobats that would do different tricks with horses. And they would come out on Yom Tovim or on different Chabad holidays to perform for the community. It was the middle of the week, and it was just a regular weekday, and the Mittler Rebbe said, let's get the performance out. Let's get those acrobats to come out with the horses and do stuff for the community. And the Mittler Rebbe's son was very excited, and he got involved, and he was leading these horses through this courageous procession. And in the event, the Mittler Rebbe's son fell down, and he got hurt, and he was in a tremendous amount of pain on the floor. The Mittler Rebbe called for immediate medical assistance, which they came out. However, the Mittler Rebbe never left his position. He actually motioned that the performance should continue. Once the performance was done, the Mittler Rebbe came out to visit his son. And the Hasidim were watching this, and with respect, they said to the Mittler Rebbe, your son got hurt on the floor. Why didn't you run to your son? And the Mittler Rebbe answered, let me answer your question with another question, which is a great Hasidic way to answer a question. He said, why would I have called a performance in the middle of a weekday? It's not a Yontif or one of our Chabad holidays. Why would I have done this? So the messaging is very important. So the Mittler Rebbe said that he saw on high that there was a kitrug, or a decision from above, that something should happen to his son. And he was very concerned. He also knows that joy, happiness, has the greatest healing powers. So he decided, by calling for this event, these acrobats on the horses, to come out during the week, it would create tremendous amount of joy. And when his son went down, that he would feel that that would be enough to nullify the kitrug, the whatever was destined to happen to his son, that this would happen. However, when he was already on the floor and hurt, he felt that this was the end of that situation, but he also wanted the event to continue, that this happiness, this joy that continued through the procession of these horses is also what brought the healing. And that's exactly what happened. And when he went to his son, and thank God his son recovered and everything worked out well, this is what the Mittler Rebbe was saying in this event, that joy has the greatest healing powers. We're talking today about music, we're talking about instruments, we're talking about songs and the power of them. So the message of today is happiness, joy, music. These items can break all boundaries and bring us unlimited blessings, unlimited happiness, as well as bring us healing. So have a wonderful day. Have a day full of joy, of happiness, of singing and songs. And the next time you see some acrobatic work, make yourself happy. It also brings healing. Have a great day. All the best.